Live from the No Panic Zone, I'm Steve Gruber. God bless America. Coming to you live from the Gaylord Resort, National Harbor, Maryland today. It's CPAC 2023. Good to have you on board for the conversation. A lot of conversations to be had here today. Here are the three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, the border crisis is exploding, as you well know. The flow of fentanyl, apparently that's a laughing matter to the president. Number two, Merrick Garland in the hot seat, being accused of anti-Catholic rhetoric. Josh Hawley, the senator from Missouri, calling him out. And, of course, number three, we're here at CPAC at the Gaylord, and we've got a lot to talk about here today. Tremendous amount of things we want to get into. Do want to talk about the number one topic that everybody seems to be talking about, and that is the revelation, apparently of late, that the virus came from Wuhan, China. No revelation here, of course. We've told you that since February of 2020. It was quite clear that the best, shortest route for the virus was to come out of Wuhan, China. We'll be talking about that a lot this week, I'm quite sure. And we're going to have a host of guests on that as well, because it's something that's incredibly important. But I want to start with this remarkable piece of sound here today. It's bite number two, and I want to start with this. And the reason is, President Joe Biden was asked yesterday during a get-together. He was asked about the fentanyl crisis and asked specifically about a young mother from Rochester Hills, Michigan, that testified in front of Congress the day before, who lost not one but two children to fentanyl poisoning back in 2020, and said that this crisis at the border, these people coming over the border, the fentanyl crisis in particular, is ripping families apart, is destroying people. And Joe Biden was asked about it, and he laughed about it. I don't know what is wrong. He's supposed to be the empathy president, right? He is the guy that's supposed to level and be in contact with the average individual, the average American. And here he is laughing, literally laughing about this woman's kids dying. I mean, it's mind-blowing and galling. It's bite number two. Bite two. Go.
She was very specific recently, saying that a mom, a poor mother who lost two kids to fentanyl, that I killed her sons. Well, the interesting thing is that fentanyl they took came during the last administration.
Do we have Joe Biden? Bite two, do we have that or not? If not, we'll sort that back out. All right. Nathan, I take it we've got not the right thing here. All right, well, we're going to sort that out. But here's the galling thing about Joe Biden. He laughs about it and says, well, that didn't happen while I was president. It happened while Donald Trump was president. As if that makes it better. As if that's okay. As if that is okay. It's not okay at all. And it is a galling, horrible representation of the presidency of the United States, laughing about a mom whose children, not one but two, had died from fentanyl overdoses. I mean, can you imagine that somehow strikes you as funny in any way just because it didn't happen on your watch? It happened during the previous administration. There's no excuse for that. Laughing about it. And so that's how seriously you can tell this administration. Alejandro Mayorkas, President Joe Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris take the border crisis, which is not seriously at all. So serious that they laugh about a mom who lost two kids, and he's been criticized heavily. Can you imagine? Chuckled. Marjorie Taylor Greene pinned blame on the government for failing to stop the inflow of illicit drugs. Listen, 100,000 or more people died from fentanyl overdoses in America just last year, more than 100,000. By comparison, just over 57,000 Americans, men and women, died in Vietnam. So almost twice as many people in America died from fentanyl overdose. More than twice as many people died from overdose in general last year in America. We have a drug problem here. But fentanyl specifically is a killer. It's manufactured, its components manufactured in China, of course, combined in Mexico, put into pill form, and then muled over the border by a variety of different individuals, and that poison ends up in the streets of America. Rochester Hills, Michigan is about as far removed from the border as you can imagine. It's about as far removed from the border as you can imagine. It is a upwardly mobile suburban community. good incomes, great schools. And yet fentanyl comes right in there, too. It is indiscriminate in its killing. The government has failed you at the border. That's the bottom line. The government has failed you at the border, and people are dying all the way to the upper Great Lakes region from this fentanyl poisoning, also into Canada and elsewhere. It's failing our children. It's failing our young people, is this governor. Is this government. You know, to lose 2 kids to fentanyl poisoning, tell the truth about her sons. They were murdered. Because I have contended for a long time that China allowing these chemicals to be exported to Mexico intentionally for profit and then combined in Mexico by the cartels intentionally for profit again and then shipped across our border, killing more than 100,000 people. Most of those people, young people, right? Young people dying from overdose, and fentanyl being the worst of the worst. And we do nothing about it. That's how serious and unserious they really are. We do nothing about it. We do nothing to contain it. We do nothing to stop it. We sit here and say, well, the border's secure when clearly it's not. And then when the mother is pointed out as to have lost 2 children, the President of the United States, the man elected, we're told, because he has empathy, chuckles about it. The man who lost a child in a car wreck and his first wife in a car wreck chuckles about it. A man who lost a second child chuckles about losing 2 children. How morbid, how morally bankrupt is that? Just shameful and embarrassing is what that is. Shameful and embarrassing. It was murder. It's a drug overdose, but it was propelled and triggered by bad policies from the United States government, period, paragraphs. We're going to talk more about that coming up. Also coming up, like I said, we've got a whole host of things we're going to talk about during the conference, CPAC 2023. Karen Harnett will be here, Chief Legal Officer at the Job Creators Network, joining me to talk about the student loan bailout. What a fiasco that's turned out to be. Joe Biden apparently thinks that he can do whatever he wants when it comes to the pen. She'll be coming up here in just about 5 minutes or so. So Karen will join me, so you don't want to miss that. I mean, here we are once again with Congress being cut out of the loop. It happens over and over again. Congress cut out of the loop. Congress is not important to this administration. It's all executive orders. It's all doing as they please is what it is. Good to have you here for the conversation. Drop me a line, SteveGruber.com, SteveGruber.com. Tell me what you want to talk about at CPAC 2023, the Gaylord Resort, National Harbor, Maryland. Beautiful place. You know, it used to be a quiet place this time of the day. Not anymore. There's people talking as far as the eye can see, but you're in the right spot. Sit tight. We're on the Steve Gruber Show. Again, SteveGruber.com. I'll be back in just a moment. Hi there. Sit here, please. I got to figure out a problem I just had, but I'll... I need you all the way in here just because smile for the camera, you'll be all right. It's just a two.